I watched over 400 films last year, and what I want to do in this video is take you through some of my favorites from the year. Now, I'm not talking about 2024 films. That will be its own video coming out soon. I'm just talking about, of the 405 films that I watched, what were my favorite, which ones do I recommend and think you should check out, and just some general thoughts as I scroll back through my Letterboxd diary. Now, starting at the beginning of the year here. Started the year with Saltburn. Again, like I mentioned in my previous video, I liked this a lot better the first time, liked it a lot less the second time, but I think a lot of it had to do with expectations and, all of that stuff. I think this movie is not as, I've made a video about this, it's not as deep or complex as I think we all want it to be or expect it to be. But that level of expectation, I think, kind of hurts the film when in reality, it's just fun. I think it's just meant to be fun, beautiful, and all that stuff. And I think if you take it as that, it's a lot better. One thing to highlight is I watched a lot of Ken Russell this year. I mentioned this in the last video as well. If you have not seen Ken Russell films, you have got to start. The three I would recommend checking out would be The Devils, Altered States, and The Boyfriend. The Devils is a religious film about, religious suppression and all the things that go with that. It's a really, really incredible film. It was banned forever. That's why it's very infamous. But aside from just the theatrics of it being banned and, banned film, it's actually really, really good. It's a phenomenally made film. Oliver Reed leads this one and does just a tremendous job. The movie just captures the feelings that come from religious repression really better than anything I've ever seen. It can be a bit over the top at times, but it's really, really spectacular. And then the next one I would recommend would be Altered States. If you like body horror, like in the vein of Cronenberg, or visual terror like that of David Lynch, this is for you. I don't see anybody ever talking about this film, but it perfectly marries Cronenberg and Lynch in a way that I've never seen before. And William Hurt carries this movie with just a tremendous performance. I remember the ending, if I remember correctly, being a little much, but what a great time. Like, I cannot recommend this one enough. And then the final recommendation for Ken Russell would be The Boyfriend. If you love MGM musicals, this would be a neo musical, right? It would be, decades after the MGM musical had kind of fallen off. Ken Russell, right after, mind you, on the heels of making a film that was banned around the world for blasphemy, came in with just the sweetest, nicest MGM musical you'd ever seen. And it's really, really great. If you haven't seen it, make a beeline to watch it. If you love musicals. If you don't love musicals, you're obviously not going to like this. But if you do like musicals, check it out. It's really, really fun. Really, really great. Moving through here. Again, I just kind of tore through a bunch of Ken Russell films. We got a young Hugh Grant in here. David, oh gosh, what's his name? He's like the old doctor. I'm not going to remember his name. It's okay. But he's in there too. He's great. This movie's surprisingly great for such a stupid and silly concept. Really, really good. But that's enough Ken Russell. I have positioned myself at the front of the Ken Russell hype train, and I'm not getting off anytime soon. And I encourage you to hop on. There's plenty of room. It's actually an empty train. No one else seems to be on here, so there's plenty of room. Jump on. Monster is a movie that I watched in 2024, but it was a 2023 film. Really fantastic film. I think I ended up having this as my best film of 2023, which I don't think I actually ever did a best of film. I might have to go back and do that. But I put this one at the best of 2023. I think I changed my mind on that as time went on and switched it to Perfect Days. I think Perfect Days is perfect. Monster is also damn near perfect, but I think Perfect Days is a little bit better. But Monster is a very touching film. Very, very good. All of Us Strangers. I've mentioned this one before. This film absolutely wrecks me. Just absolutely destroys me. The only gripe I had with this film on my first watch was the ending. I thought it strangled its I don't know why this. When I was growing up as a kid playing baseball, my dad would tell me that there was a quote from Hank Aaron. I don't know if it was actually from Hank Aaron, but he said that Hank Aaron always said, when you hold your baseball bat, hold it like you're grabbing a little baby bird, right? You want to hold it tight enough that it doesn't fly away, but loose enough that you don't crush it, right? That is kind of the approach that this movie doesn't take to its ending, if that makes sense. Like, with its ending, the concept of this movie is unique, right? It's a kind of a high concept, kind of, ghost story kind of thing. And it's got a cool concept, but it crushes the baby bird. At least that's what I thought at the time. It holds on too tightly to its concept and squeezes too much out of it that it ends up strangling and killing the bird. I thought the entire movie was perfect up until the ending. I thought the performances were amazing. I thought Paul Mescal and Andrew Scott were just incredible. This movie just made me tear up in the theater. It was incredible, really, really good. But I thought at the time the ending kind of ruined it. I will update you on a rewatch. I rewatched it a couple months ago. That is not the case anymore. I have come around to the ending in a pretty spectacular way. It's tough to explain what changed for me. I think a reoccurring theme in the film is missing key moments, right? Parents not being there for you when you need them, you know, your partner not being there for you, etc. And I think the ending perfectly continues that theme in a circular way, right? Showing that, you know, Adam, I think his name was not being there for Harry. I think those are names. You know, continuing the cycle of like, you can resolve your past, you can strive to be better than your parents, but the human cycle continues whether we like it or not. And we can strive to not succumb to that, but you know, we are always going to miss moments. We are always not going to be there. It's just the perpetual human curse to never be enough for people and always fall short. I was trying to say all that without really spoiling anything in the movie, but I think as I rewatched it, I think the ending's perfect. I really do. I think it perfectly encapsulates the whole theme of the movie. So I'm happy to say on a rewatch that movie is perfect. And in hindsight, probably may have been my favorite movie next to Perfect Days of 2023. If you haven't seen All of Us Strangers, check it out. There's a Criterion 4K that looks absolutely stunning. Check it out if you have not seen it. Moving on, The Curse, best TV show I've seen in years. Easily. I mean, this was one of the most wild experiences watching this. It's been on my short list to rewatch again. Just insane. Just so good. Emma Stone gives probably one of the best performances of her career in this. I mean, she is so damn good. Just incredible. Asteroid City. Great Wes Anderson movie that is way deeper than I thought it was at the time. Like, as you can see, I didn't even rate it because I just didn't really know how to react to it. But as it set with me, as I thought on it, it hits a lot better in hindsight. Might not be my favorite Wes Anderson movie, but I could really see it creeping up and becoming that over time. Moving on. The Quick and the Dead. This is a really fun Western. I really, really liked this one. I thought it was a blast. It might not be my favorite Western, but if you like Westerns and if you like Sam Raimi, this one was not on my radar for the longest time. I would definitely check it out. The Addiction. I mentioned this in the last video. I watched this video a couple years ago. Loved it. And then my local theater was playing it in a special, like, kind of grindhouse themed night. They played this one. Got to see it on the big screen. It cemented it as one of my favorite films of all time. This film is just really just so perfect, poignant, short, sweet. It's got, well, not sweet, but it's got a phenomenal message about humanity, overcoming sin, overcoming, you know, your struggles and resurrection and just the human experience. This movie captures that better than probably anything I've ever seen. And it immediately jumped up on a second watch, cemented the fact that I'm like, okay, this is one of my favorite films of all time. And yeah, I just love it. Moving on. Closely Watching Trains. I also got to see this one in theaters. Probably the best coming of age film I've ever seen. Maybe. That might be a bit extreme to say, but honestly, it probably is the best coming of age film I've ever seen. Just fantastic, just really, really good. Another movie in the vein of Addiction that's short. It doesn't overstay its welcome. Like, it's very efficient with its time, but is very, very good. Red River, saw that a couple times last year. Maybe my favorite Western of all time. I don't know. The Great Silence has kind of swooped in and maybe be my favorite, but just phenomenal. Just really, really, really good. Moving on. Now, again, if I'm not highlighting any of these movies, it's not because I don't love them. It's just because I watched 400 films last year. It's like, I don't want to make this video, 10 hours long. So I'm kind of just scrolling through here. Bicycle Thieves. This is another one I'm planning on rewatching soon. I thought it was perfect on an initial rewatch. And I think this movie, to me, is, without giving away too much of what I do for a living, I think the online business space, everyone who runs their own business needs to watch this movie. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by this is this movie confronts you with moral questions that are just depicted in such a way that it just hits you like a gut punch. Like the way it shows you what it looks like when you sacrifice your morals for a want or even a need in this case, and just how infectious and how damaging that can be. It's a moving movie. It's a sad movie, but it's a powerful movie. And I think this is a great film for anyone who owns their own business or anyone who's in business, really, to just make sure morality is your North Star. And it sounds cheesy and cliche to maybe even say that, but it shouldn't be. In all earnestness and all sincerity, like this movie, just raises the importance of morality in all things that we do, and being the example, not just to ourselves, but to our children, to our family, to the world. As Jean-Paul Sartre would say, it's like we are painfully responsible for everything that we have to do. It's like we are free. We're condemned to be free, right? And, we have to be responsible for our actions and for our choices. And I think this movie really does a great job of highlighting that. Moving on. Drugstore Cowboy. Awesome. Love this movie. I always forget his name. Matt Dillon? I think it's Matt Dillon. I always forget which Dillon it is. Matt Dillon is great, man. He has really become one of my favorite actors. Not of all time, but he's great. Really, really good. Love him. Moving on here. Scrolling down, as you can see, watch through a bunch of David Lynch stuff. Let's get on down here. True Stories. Okay, if you like Twin Peaks, if you like things that are a little bit weird, things that are a little bit, oblique or enigmatic, True Stories is definitely for you. If you don't know anything about it, going in blind is honestly fine, but just really it's just follows David Byrne or however you say his name, the head of the Talking Heads. It's just him working his way through a small town in Midwest America where he meets John Goodman, and he just forms some friendships. And it's just like it's almost like a documentary kind of, where he's just going through people in the town and these stories. And I don't know. It's very in the vein of Twin Peaks, it feels like, and not entirely. Like, it's not a murder thing or whatever. It's very happy and very nice, but there's a lot to chew on here, and it's just very interesting. That's all I'm gonna say. Just go check out True Stories if you haven't seen it. Absolutely worth your time. Haneke. Okay, we're not gonna talk about him today because I want this to be a happy video. I don't want this to be the most depressing thing in the world. But I will say briefly. Okay, The Piano Teacher is just a disgusting movie, man. It is a brutal watch, but also just incredible. Powerful, and Haneke with funny games, and all of his films, it's like he knows how to make you feel guilty for the things that you do. He knows how to make you reevaluate your actions and your intentions and all of that stuff. Man, speaking of Haneke and what film he would absolutely hate, Crash by David Cronenberg. He would absolutely hate this film. This film is, if you don't know anything about Crash, check it out. It's definitely worth watching. It's essentially a film where people, how do I describe this? Become physically infatuated with automobiles in certain ways. Definitely check it out if that sounds interesting. If you like sexy 90s James Spader, check this out. 80s, 90s James Spader. Oh, look at these two James Spader movies back to back. This is a all horned up night right there. This is a fun night here I must have had. 80s, 90s James Spader is the man. Both of these would be a good double feature there. Frailty. This is an interesting movie. It's a movie about a father who believes that he's hearing directly from God to kill people, I think is the story. Matthew McConaughey is his son. Great performances from Bill Paxton, Matthew McConaughey. Great little hidden gem here. I would absolutely check that out. Broadcast News, one of my favorite films that I watched last year that quickly jumped up to one of my favorites. There's something about this that's just so earnest and sincere, and the characters are just top notch. William Hurt is so damn good. William Hurt is amazing. Holly Hunt is also fantastic in this, as well as Albert Brooks. But William Hurt, I think this year I just realized he is one of the best actors we've ever had, I think. Another Ken Russell film here, Savage Messiah. This one floored me, and I don't know how, I can't explain how or why it floored me, but it really did. There's something incredible that Ken Russell did here that I think people will either get or they won't. And I'm not saying I'm like, oh, you don't get it, man. No, I just mean like either people will like it or they won't, and that's the obvious statement of the day. But there's nothing necessarily special about this film, but this film was incredibly special to me. Let me put it that way. I would recommend checking it out. It explores creation and, you know, making things and art and the process of doing that in a way that I think is fantastic. And also, just being frank, if you know, there was ever a reason to watch this movie, it's Helen Mirren. I'll just leave that there, and then you and Reddit can figure out the rest there. All right, moving on. Much Ado About Nothing. Great. Love it. Fantastic movie. Yeah, nothing else to say. Good one. Hundreds of Beavers. Probably the funniest movie that I watched last year. No joke. This movie is one of the most creative films I've ever seen. Hands down. Unbelievably creative. And just fun, man. It's just a good time. Moving on. Okay, let's speed things up a little bit here. A shout out to Zack Snyder for making, not just 2023, but in 2024, the worst movie of the year. And I say that as someone who has had BVS in their top 4 since forever and will always have it there. That is my favorite movie of all time. These 2 movies are just abysmal. No, I did not watch the director's cuts. I watched the theatrical and was turned off so strongly that I wasn't even going to waste time to watch those. Moving on. Challengers. I watched this movie twice, saw it in theaters here, and then watched it again about a month or so ago. And this might be, I don't want to spoil it, this might be my favorite movie of 2024. I don't know. It's just so much fun. I just had an absolute blast with it. I don't know. I keep going back and forth. But if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's a lot of fun. You may or may not have a great time. I've recommended it to a couple people, and it's split down the middle, by the way. So like half of the people I've recommended it to absolutely loathed it, and then the other half did love it. So I can't recommend it in good conscience because you might hate it. But I recommend checking it out, at least as an experiment, to see if you like it. Moving on. Lone Ranger. I watched this for the first time since seeing it in theaters when I was a kid, and it's better than I remember it. I think there's some sauce here. I'm not going to lie. There is something good here. It might not be the best film ever, but there is some really great stuff in there that is worth checking out, and I might revisit it again in the future. This was fucking terrible. This sucked. This is not good. Midnight Run was a lot of fun. Speaking of, okay, I don't know why I was saying speaking of, he wasn't even mentioned, but speaking of Danny Elfman, Danny Elfman did the score for this movie. It's so funny. I was sitting down to watch this movie and I just started bobbing my head. I was like, all right, this is awesome. Like, this music is amazing. And I was like, who did this? And then I immediately saw in the credits, it was Danny Elfman. I was blown away. This might be my favorite score of his. Genuinely. It is so good and really makes the movie. I would definitely check it out. Finally saw Babylon. It's awesome. I don't know what everyone was saying about how bad it was. That's crazy. Let's keep her going here. New Rose Hotel, just for fun. I already added this in the last video. I'm going to add a clip again of my favorite scene from this movie, and probably my favorite scene of any movie ever. But I'm a cheerleader. Awesome. So fun. Really, really enjoyed that. Oh, let's keep going here. Paint Your Wagon. This is one that I bought from a Kino Lorber sale. They had a great 4K disc of it. Not only did it look fantastic, but I loved the music. I thought it was great. I thought it was fun seeing Clint Eastwood sing Lee Marvin. You know, I thought the chemistry between all three of the leads was really there. I thought it was really, really great. I've seen a lot of people not like this movie, and I get it. I mean, I definitely get it. But I loved it. For me, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Moving on. Okay, speaking of substance, again, I keep saying speaking of when I haven't said anything. In light of the relevance of the substance, I should say there, with Coralie Farge, I think her name is. I don't know. The director of The Substance directed this movie a few years back called Revenge. It's essentially John Wick, but in the desert with a lady, and it's probably the coolest movie I saw last year, maybe. I mean, it's up there. I mean, this movie rocks. It is so good. I absolutely loved it. And I have the Blu-ray of it, and it looked stunning. It looked really, really good. Definitely recommend checking that out. Moving on. I rewatched Prometheus and Alien Covenant. Both of those films, awesome. I think both of those films really hold up, and I think it's sad to me that we might not be getting a continuation of those for more Alien Romulus, which I wasn't a massive fan of. Release the Prometheus cuts. Let's start the hashtag. Green Knights. Rewatch this film. Really, really love it. With each watch, I love it more and more and more. I think it's fantastic. Purple Rain, as you see there, I actually went to see that twice, 2 days in a row. I mentioned this in the last video already, but this film is so earnest, so sincere, so cheesy, but it embraces it. There's never a wink and a nod at the audience. It is authentically cheesy and corny, and it's fantastic. The music is also just incredible, and the new 4K transfer that Warner Brothers did is actually really, really good. I think it's Warner Brothers. Great stuff. Moving on. State of Maine. This is a good film. I think this is overlooked a lot. This was a really, really good film. Philip Seymour Hoffman was fantastic in it. Alec Baldwin was great as presumably himself in that movie. It's just a movie about making a movie. And it was really interesting to see that process and see what it's like on a movie set, assuming this is actually what it's like. It was fun and stressful to see what goes into that. This movie, Autofocus. Let me jump in here and just kind of show you this film here. Greg Kinnear, if that's how he says his name, is so good in this. I've never seen him as the lead before in something. I don't think. This movie, let me preface this. This movie follows the guy, Bob Crane, who was in Hogan's Heroes. Okay, we've probably all seen on TV Land or whatever growing up the show Hogan's Heroes. This follows the guy who was the star of it. He was Hogan. Unbelievable story this guy has. Absolutely blew me away. I could not believe it. I gave this 3.5 stars. Honestly, should have been more. I mean, his performance was outstanding. The entire cast was great. The direction from Paul Schrader was really, really good. This was such a shock. This movie just blew me away. It was not what I anticipated at all. Just really good. Really, really great. Moving on. Burn After Reading. I rewatch this movie very frequently. It's always one of my favorites. Definitely my favorite Coen Brothers film, which might seem crazy to some, but it's my favorite Coen Brothers film, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. I just think it's really, really funny. Dead Birds. This is a movie I watched. I think this was this September? Oh yeah, this was actually, I started watching horror movies in September just to get as many in as I could. And the first couple I was trying to watch were some Western horrors because I just love that genre. It's such an overlooked genre. The first two I watched were Dead Birds and The Burrowers, both phenomenal. The Burrowers is a better movie, but The Dead Birds was just equally as fun. I think both of these films are really great and worth checking out next Halloween. So I would implore you to do that. I remember watching, I just got a new sound system on this day, and I threw in Top Gun Maverick just to test the audio. Ended up watching the thing from start to finish. This movie is just awesome. It refuses to stop, and I don't want it to stop. I just want it to keep going. It's an amazing one. Love it. Moving on, continuing to move on. This movie, The Borderlands, or sometimes called The Final Prayer. The most terrifying ending to a film that I watched this year. I truly believe that. The movie itself is not terrifying. It's suspenseful. It's creepy. It's mainly just entertaining. It's a found footage type movie, but it does a lot of good with the genre. It does a lot of good with the trope. Really, really great one. I would highly recommend this. That ending, ugh, again, like it's just, it sticks with you, man. It's a creepy one. Moving on. Candyman. This movie was awesome. This is the first time I watched this movie. I'd never seen it before, and I thought it was great. Tony Todd was so good in it. The story was really, really good. That's what surprised me the most. I guess I was just expecting, I don't know, like a Jeepers Creepers kind of thing, or like a something, not an actual film. Really, I was expecting a popcorn movie type thing, but Candyman came out guns blazing. Was just a great story, great lore, a great myth. I just thought it was really, really, really good. Another one to mention here that I scrolled past is House of Mortal Sin. This one was a shocker for me. Like, it was really, really good. Yeah, like I put here, it's a blend of Psycho, Exorcist 3, and Peeping Tom. Really recommend checking this one out. It was a great one. Moving on down the line here. Let's jump on over here. American Werewolf in London. That was the first watch for me this year. Fantastic practical effects. Really, really good. Bram Stoker's Dracula. Some of the best camera work and visuals I've seen, definitely in a Coppola film. Not including Megalopolis, obviously, which is the best film ever. But some of the best visuals. Really, really good. It's if you're comparing this to like Nosferatu or any of those others, like it really stands on its own in such a unique way that I just think is great. There we go. Look at that. The double feature of the century right there. The fact that both these movies came out in such a close time period is just hysterical. I might honestly just save my thoughts and do a whole video on both of these films because I think they're good companion pieces I'm just going to leave it at that. I think these movies deserve to be discussed together. I'll just say that there because this video would be 2 hours long if I started to dive into that. I went on a big Crispin Glover kick there for a little bit. I wanted to watch Willard, but I wanted to watch the original first and then watch The Wizard of Gore, which sucked. But, can't all be winners. Pandemonium. What a creepy film. I think this is an Arrow Films release. I think you can get a disc there. I just own it on iTunes, but I think you can get a disc for it. I would, honestly. I think this is really, really great. Really creepy. Plays with the themes of hell and heaven and purgatory in ways that you don't really see a lot, which I thought was great. Let's see here. Necromantic. If you haven't seen this film, I would say do yourself a favor and don't watch it. If you're intrigued by it, fucking yeah, sure, whatever, go watch it. I mean, it's like if you're intrigued by it, you're gonna watch it. If you're not, steer clear. Like I can hear the piano in my head. That little piano like motif or whatever you call it, where it's just like a recurring like musical thing. I can hear that in my dreams, and this is the type of thing that I'll think back on, and I'll not be able to finish my dinner. Like legit, like it's. Yeah, like I put a truly disgusting piece of slop cinema with no redeeming or meaningful qualities. Can't wait to show it to someone. Yeah, it's like this is that. Like it is just disgusting. It's appalling, but I'll also never forget it. And does that mean it's good? Does that mean it's not? I don't know. I have no idea. Speaking of which, dude, oh my God. I watched these in the same day. Was I out of my mind? I watched Necromantic and then Begotten in the same afternoon. That is insanity. What was wrong with me? This one, unlike Necromantic, I would definitely recommend checking this one out. Like I mentioned here, it's really haunting, very unique. No dialogue for an hour, which made it feel very, very long. But yeah, I probably would have enjoyed this a lot more had I not watched it off the heels of Necromantic, which was just the most disgusting film I've ever seen in my life. Moving on. I watched through all the Hellraiser movies. Hellraiser 10, actually pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, it's entertaining. They do the most with the premise that I've seen from probably any other film in the series. Moving down the line, The Apprentice here. I thought one of the best performances of the year. If Sebastian Stan again, at the time I'm making this video, it was just released like a few days ago that the director had been a little inappropriate. I haven't read into it. I don't know how bad or what happened, but I swear, if anyone makes it out of this Oscar season unscathed, I will be shocked. I will really, really be shocked. Moving on, Sleepy Hollow. This was the coolest experience I had probably this past year. In addition to bringing me the head of Alfredo Garcia, my local theater was also playing Sleepy Hollow, but they had the special effects guy call in from Zoom and answer loads of questions about the film and the techniques they use to make the film look so good. Truly a fascinating watch, like just incredible. A Q&A with the visual effects artist. Unforgettable experience. The amount of work that they put in to this film is outstanding. It's outstanding and should be noted that they went all out for this film, and it really shows. But just incredible. Really, really great. And moving on here, Gummo. This is a film if you're in the film world at all, you're going to hear about Gummo. You're going to know about Gummo. I put it off for a long time. I just, never had a way to watch it, but also was just kind of turned off by it. It didn't look appealing, let's say. It looked kind of gross. It is indeed kind of gross, but it's also a very human movie. Like, seeing it and being able to peer into these people's lives was moving, to say the least. It was haunting. It was powerful. And I would recommend watching it, especially on the new Criterion 4K. It looks stunning. It's like you're there. I mean, it's a really, really incredible piece of film history. Magic Mike 2 remains to be one of my favorite movies of all time. Every time I watch it, it bumps up a little bit more and a little bit more. Love, love, love. I already talked about All of Us Strangers. I would put this on the highest priority to watch. Yes, I watched both of these in the same day. No, I don't regret it. Moving on. American Pie 2, best of the series and one of the best comedies of the early 2000s. I stand by that. I think it's a solid film. I think it's really, really good, really funny, really heartfelt. These four films, what I love about these four films is that they each represent a time in your life, right? American Pie is high school. American Pie 2 is college. American Wedding is wedding. And then Reunion is, reunion. And each of these play with that topic and the feelings that come along with that in a really, really great way. I think they don't get enough credit for just how heartfelt and how real they are. And I think American Pie 2 and American Wedding are just up there with some of the best comedies, hands down. Tommaso. Tommaso is probably my favorite Willem Dafoe film. One of his best performances. Like I say here, it felt like when I was watching it, I was watching real life. It didn't even feel like a real movie. And then after watching some of the bonus features on the disc, turns out that was actually the case in a lot of it, because it was very unscripted. It was just Willem Dafoe just talking to real people, which is incredible, because this does feel like a movie. It does feel cohesive. When I say it feels unscripted, I don't mean that it feels loose or anything like that. It's very tight, very effective, very well done, but it just feels so natural. Like I say here, modern day neorealism interwoven with surrealist moments and imagery. It's outstanding. Abel Ferreira and Willem Dafoe need to collaborate more, because their collaboration here is nothing short of spectacular. And I highly recommend checking this film out. Moving on. Talked about this film in the last video. Easily the worst film of the year. Maybe one of the worst films of all time. I'm not even joking, that I've ever seen. Like, it was real bad. And moving on. Let's see what else we got here. Linguini Incident. What a weird film. Another David Bowie film. One of the films that I watched this past year was The Man Who Fell to Earth. Great film, great David Bowie flick. This one, I don't know what to say about this one. It's odd through and through. You know, it is wholly unique, wholly in its own little world. It doesn't care what films are. It doesn't care the structure it should follow. It doesn't care about any of that. It's just literally doing its own thing. And I can't say it worked for me, but, you know, it was worth watching. God told me to. This film rocked. This film was so, like I say, you're captivating. Like, it just sucked me in. I was hooked. The ending blew me away too. I was not anticipating where that was going to go. I'm going to be buying the disc of that at some point. I'm just waiting for it to go on sale. And I will definitely be rewatching that one again because that was great stuff. Moving on, Anora. It's as good as people are saying. Like, people are not overhyping. It really is that good. Some of the dialogue in this felt like I was watching a screwball comedy with Cary Grant's in certain places. If you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. It's just so well written, so well done, so well ordered. Just great. Probably another monumental moments of this year was going to see Interstellar in IMAX. What a moving experience. I mean, there's no other way to describe it than that. It was truly astounding. I almost never want to watch it again unless it's in a theater. I'm sure I will watch it again, but it just, the communal experience of getting to witness that on the biggest screen possible was really life-changing. And I'll never forget that for as long as I live, for sure. Great Silence. This may be my favorite Western of all time. As soon as I watched it, I immediately gave it to my cousin to check out because I had to share it with somebody. It is everything you want in a Western. It feels like the greatest parts of the Dollar trilogy mixed with, you know, the greatest, John Wayne, revenge flick you've ever seen. I don't know. It's just like, I don't even know how to really encapsulate or describe this film. It's just so great. And damn, is this movie cold. It's pretty much takes place in the snow the entire time, and you feel it. This movie is so damn cold, but just fantastic. Absolutely great. Klaus Kinski is really terrifying in this movie and a fantastic villain. What did I write about this? I think I wrote something better. Yeah, a cold, moody, atmospheric, existential, and morally challenging film. That's what it was. This film, like, it felt like an answer to the Dollars trilogy, where the Dollars trilogy had, the hero winning and had, this kind of more moral, I mean, not even really, but a more so moral stance. This movie is just void of that, right? It's just void of that. It's existential. It's almost nihilistic in a lot of ways. And it's just great. Really, really, really good. If you love Westerns, gotta check this one out. I would put this on the highest urgency possible to watch. It's a Wonderful Life. Got to see this in theaters. Probably the most beautiful film ever made. It's a cathartic wash of melancholy joy that makes this the most perfect film to end the year with. It really is. I mean, I can't think of a better way to think back on the year, to look forward into a new year, than to watch this film and remember that, what's important. Remember that your choices matter. It's special. It really is. It is that good. It is that touching and moving. James Stewart does something in this movie that I've never seen anyone else do. Let's just say that he is shockingly good and powerful in this movie. The only thing that's better than It's a Wonderful Life is 2024's Red One, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. No, I'm going to end that joke right there because I can't even keep that facade up. This movie sucked. This movie was terrible. It was one of the worst movies of the year. Not the worst movie, because Zack Snyder's, Rebel Moon Part 2, Folie à Deux came out, and that one was worse. But this one was close. This is a really, really bad movie. Moving on, Immortals. This movie rocks, man. This movie is so cool. The way it plays with like Greek lore and the mythology, I thought it was really, really great. And now we get to the last section here of films. A complete unknown. I have been saying I think this is really going to do well at the Oscars. Unfortunately, I am not on the hype train personally, but I do suspect it's going to do pretty well. Holdovers, one of the best films of the recent years. It just gets better and better with each watch. It's just like a hug. It's like a hug. It's like it slaps you in the face and then it hugs you, right? It's like it's touching, it's warm, it's inviting, but it's also real. Kind of like with It's a Wonderful Life, the way it plays with melancholy joy is just spectacular. The Dead Don't Hurt. Great new Western. If you love Westerns, check this one out. It's not the best film ever, but Viggo Mortensen acts and directs a damn fine Western here, and I would definitely check it out. And then the last film on the list is A Different Man. This film, like I say here, it's Sebastian Stan's year. Between this and The Apprentice, I mean, he was just cleaning house and just crushing. But this film is very layered. It has so much to say. It has so much to take away from. And I think the more I keep watching it over time, the more I'll learn to love even more parts of it and gain more from it. Like I say here, the best part of the film, first noting that this is one of Sebastian Stan's best performances, if not his best. Yet the best part of the film is Adam Pearson. Adam Pearson just burst onto the film as just sunshine, and he is so good. The fact that he hasn't been acknowledged for any awards is really sad, and it's inappropriate. Damn right, downright inappropriate, because he should have gotten something. I mean, he was the light of this movie and really made it what it is. So there we go. That's it. Of the 405 films, those are just some that I wanted to highlight and bring to your attention. Some of the ones that I love the most. As you saw, I scrolled past a lot, right? There's a lot of films I didn't mention. There's a lot of films I didn't highlight. I could talk for hours about all of these films and may honestly even start doing that. Once we get the live stream feature going on the channel, might start just doing some live streams and just talking through the films. What I am going to start doing soon is do more monthly reviews, because this, near 45 minute video here ain't gonna cut it moving forward. Y'all don't want to watch that, and my voice is gonna shrivel and dry up if I keep doing this. So what I'm probably gonna do moving forward is switch to monthly reviews and just kind of review what I watched in the month on a monthly basis, just to keep tabs that way. Leave a comment down below with your Letterboxd handle. I would love to give some of you guys a follow. I'm not going to promise that I'll follow you, but drop your handle below. Let's engage more. I'd love to follow you. I'd love for you to check out mine. That's really how I find a lot of good films, is through Letterboxd, is following people who have a good taste. So if you think you have good taste, drop your handle below. I'd love to give you a follow and check out what you got going on. Check out your check out your lists, and just find more films for me to watch this year. But with that, I'm going to end this video here before it gets any longer. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much for the support, and I will see y'all soon. Thanks.